Good evening. This is the Park and Recreation Commission meeting for Thursday, January 29th, 2026. I'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. If you'll rise to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is approval of minutes from the November meeting.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just want to, if you read the thing, the minutes said that the discussion on the skate park, that there was no vote, but just that we're going to revisit it in September. I think we didn't vote, but we did have a consensus that we're going to have one more summer with it, just a kind of reminder. Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Unfinished business, park acquisition impact fees. There was going to be a presentation. I think you were going to start it.
Yeah, so I asked Mike about the history of our park impact fees, and really what was behind this is, are they, because we have construction fees have continued to go up over the years and inflation goes up, and are they sufficient to build the amenities that our community needs, with all the new development that's going on, or planned at least for the south side and around Lawrann. So I thought we would just revisit this, get maybe a little bit of the history of the park impact fees, and potentially make a recommendation to increase them to be able to support development in the future, especially with our reduced capital budget in this last year.
I know we talked about that. They haven't been increased since 2002.
I believe it's 2002.
What is the process for something like that?
The process would be, we would bring a recommendation before the Park Commission and then ultimately to Common Council. Yep. So it's not a long, drawn-out process at all. What we would do is look at comparables of other communities, things like that, review it with our development department, things like that, because when developers come to any community, there's fees associated with it, park impact fees, tree surety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know where our other fees, our other fees are laying right now. Are they low or are they high? John Fellows, our Director of Development, made a comment to me recently that overall the city's fees are low compared to other local communities. I can tell you our tree surety fees are too low at this point in time. We were hoping possibly February, bring those fees to the commission and then to the Common Council to increase those. Because again, with these new developments that are coming in, I'm going to just use tree surety, for example. Right now it's $350 a tree. If we want to continue that program, have the new development pay for it and not rely on existing taxpayers to pay for it, well then the market's telling us we need to increase. It's not us, it's just those are our costs. So to continue with these programs, it's going to ultimately cost the developers a little bit more money, and obviously they'll take those fees and roll it into the cost of the lot or the house or however it is. Yep.
I mean, we've got a stellar park system, and I want to ensure that we can continue that as the new development occurs throughout the city. So.
And we've talked about that, developing Parkside O.
Right.
That's coming down the road.
That's
We're
gonna be
have to
expensive.
do that this outside.
So if you give me 3 minutes, I can just run through a quick presentation, give everyone some background information, and then I got some comments and ideas and things like that. I like this discussion, I do. We talk about it often as a staff and how, long-term planning and things like that. I really appreciate this discussion tonight. If the commission wants us or me to review our costs associated or comparable to other communities, great, I'm all in. That's smart business, in my opinion, so. All right. In the state of Wisconsin, municipalities are allowed to charge developers for park impact fees or acquisition fees for new residential developments. As you can see on the slide, this is nothing new. These park fees have been around since 1944. In the state of Wisconsin, back in 1972, it was $200 per residential unit. And through the years, those fees or those costs just increased. Cost of living, cost of building materials, et cetera, et cetera. As you can see, the one number I'll just use often is just at $1,979 per dwelling unit. So that's $1,979 per single-family home. Is single-family home, or if it's a duplex, you multiply that by 2. If it's townhouses, like the county's suggesting they can fit 20 townhouses on an acre, that's 20 times 1979. It's per residential living unit. How does that 1979 compare throughout the state? It's all over the place. I spent some time today on our neighbors. Port Washington is, don't quote me, I think they're like $3,800 per unit. Some of them are X amount of dollars per single family. For multifamily, they have a rate for the number of bedrooms you have. So the fees throughout the state are just all over the place. So is 1979 a solid number? With what we have pending and what we have coming up and things like that, I think it's probably a little low at this point in time, and especially considering it's been over 20 years since we took a look at it. These fees and any interest that we draw on these fees, we can only use them for acquisition projects, land acquisition and development of parks and park space and open space. We can't use this for existing facilities. Great examples are the nature playground, the regular beach house. And you're thinking, Mike, hey, we renovated a 90-year-old building. How can we use impact fees? We use the impact fees on the new features, the patios, the community room in the back and things like that. So, and as always, when we use these fees, we review it with our city attorney to make sure we're using them in the right fashion and all that. The Aqua Park is another great example for using these. We use impact fees for the Riverwalk downtown, the splash pad, things like that. So new amenities. We can't use impact fees to replace make play lot like we are this year. We're using capital money for a project like that. So just new facilities. One thing I wanted to note, and we normally never have an issue with this, there is no kidding, a 7-year refund policy. If we don't use these funds in 7 years, we need to give them back. And I think this is a good clause to put in there because it really forces municipalities to use these funds. A developer provided you the funding, according to our rules, provided a municipality the funding. We shouldn't just sit on it. No community should ever sit on this. Use it. That's what it's there for. The developer paid for it, multiple developers. Ultimately, our residents pay for it. Use these funds. And you can see here, Carolyn does a great job. She's got a magical formula that works backwards because I can't do math backwards. When we collect it and when the money's got to go out and things like that. I'm serious. Carolyn does a great job with this. So you can see 2029 is the next time we need to spend some of this money. We won't have any issues doing that, and we'll give you some examples coming up here. So right now our current balance is $495,000 in impact fees. I don't want to get into which future residential development is coming because that's kind of gets a little personal with the developers and things like that. And I certainly don't want to share any information that's not public yet and all that. So these cost estimates that are on here in that right column are pretty accurate with everything that's coming. So you can see we've got some big years coming, and even towards the bottom of that small chart, it says pending for 1.1 million. Those homes are pretty much they're out there. It's probably going to happen. We just don't know the dates. Is it going to be 2028 through 32, or when's it going to land, things like that. So I didn't want to, the numbers that you see per year, those are the most accurate numbers that we have. That number could change in 15 minutes or the next day and all that. Is it going to change a lot? No. But again, tonight's discussion and future discussions on these impact fees are important because when we start talking about our current balance and these potential revenues between now and 2032, we're talking $3.7 million. We need to have a discussion on what our priorities are. So we know the community knows and things like that. I wouldn't spend $495,000 without a game plan. So we have plenty of ideas. I hope none of them are new to the commission. We've talked about a lot of them in the past. So some potential impact fee projects, the skate park in Regner Park. Again, that has been cleared with the city attorney that we can use impact fees. For that project, we will look at impact fees, donations, and grants. I'd say in the next 2 to 3 months, we will come before the commission with a dollar amount for the skate park. Ryan will give an update later, but we're at about 60% plans and cost estimating and things like that. So we want to make sure we get a solid budget before we come to the commission, things like that. Parkside O is a big one for impact fees and for future discussion. We have a lot of residential development going on, and we're planning for the south end of the city. We've talked to the commission about this several times. Instead of building neighborhood parks in each one, we were just looking at utilizing Parkside O. We own the land, why build 3 neighborhood parks when we could utilize Parkside O? The one thing that might be new, or is probably new to the commission, is we may need to utilize some impact fees in 2026 to install our utilities for Parkside O. The reason is in 2027, engineering department is reconstructing South Main from Humar down to Progress. So as soon as my brain caught up with that, I went to the city engineer and said, hey, Max, it was late last year. If you're redoing this, we need utilities stubbed in off of Main Street. I don't want to be the guy that digs up a brand new road because you know how that goes. Way to go, City of West Bend, you built a new road and now you're digging it up. So our engineering department, Max, and our city engineer, Max, and Kunkel Engineering, they're looking at costs and a game plan, basically what costs coming in off of Main Street with our utilities. The issue is like our sanitary sewer at that location is 30 feet deep. That's where we need to go. That's going to be expensive. They are also looking at the possibility of bringing our utilities in off the south end of the property off of Esker. That is 14 feet deep. We like 14 feet. 14 feet's a whole lot cheaper and a whole lot better than 30 feet. So this is a project that it's going to come forward before this commission soon to make a decision, possibly use some impact fees, things like that, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, back in 2006, when that church was going in and a skate rink was doing some work and we were looking at Parkside O, we were gonna run joint utilities off of Main Street. It was very expensive at that time and decisions were made, so the church ran in their utilities. The Hockey Association has theirs and we have none. So now we need to bring our utilities in, and it's either gonna be Main Street or Esker, and it's, we just need to do it right. So elevations and everything and all that onto the park side. We don't want to put in lift stations to move sanitary water and all that stuff in the future. We don't want to do that. We don't. So that's why engineering and Kunkel are taking a serious look at this for us. If Main Street's more, it's Main Street entrance is the right way to do it, and it's going to cost more. We might just have to bite the bullet and do that. Because the elevations in the park side, that's going to determine that. You know, so when we flush our toilets, it all goes downhill. Every time we have a community event in Regner Park, Dan and I kind of bless our pump station, our lift station that we have in Regner. We do. That all those restrooms all run on a lift station, and it's failed in the past. So Parkside O, that discussion, utility installation, that'll come before the commission this calendar year.
If you bring that in, the utilities in on Esker, that doesn't mean we can still have the main entrance elsewhere.
Yes, and we are actually considering 2 entrances into the park, thinking right now, the hockey rink, us, the church and all that, we're all using one entrance. And I'll get to your answer in a little bit. So even with this utility discussion, talking to Max and engineering, they're changing the game plan for the street itself. They're gonna redo our entranceway, that small, just the entrance within the right-of-way there. So the turn-in lane's gonna be a little wider. We're gonna keep the 2 lanes going out left and right, but right now they're at minimum size, and we're gonna just increase those widths and possibly even a turn lane along Main Street. so we can start getting traffic off of Main Street to turn into the park and, keep it going. And then the driveway going into the park, with the wider lanes, we'd make them a little longer for basically storage in the park as vehicles are coming out and all that stuff. So engineers are all doing their math and whatever, their traffic study. So it was a great discussion that we weren't missing out here. And again, I don't want to be the guy that's digging up Main Street in 3 years or something like that. So with the main entrance, Mike, would it still be Main Street? Sure. But we look at bringing another entrance in, probably off of Esker. Because again, I'm waiting for a DNR confirmation, but the area right behind the hockey arena is where we can do our active recreation area to the south a little bit, park property. That's passive recreation. But we can put parking lots in passive recreation that support both passive and, so it's, how are we gonna bring our traffic in and out? I know it's a residential development. We don't want to bring too much traffic in there, but for the park use and balance and all that. And we haven't brought this before the fire department. My guess is they would want a second entrance anyway. They're gonna want that, And if we need to get an ambulance or something onto the property and maybe out onto the property, same kind of discussion
It
item.
makes sense, because Regner and Ridge Run, they all have multiple
Yep,
entrances.
yep. If something's blocked, if there's a windstorm, you think of the worst case scenario is to get an ambulance to a location on our properties. Because when you don't think of it and don't plan for it, that's when it happens. And sometimes it's like, well, that won't ever happen. Well, tomorrow it happens and there we sit. So that's why we plan. That's why we haven't gotten to that point yet. We take concept plans, we'll take them to the police and fire and everyone else will take a look at it to make sure that, I can look at the same plan over and over again. It begins to look perfect, I hand it to Justice and he's like, Mike.
Why the hell didn't you?
Right, so, yep. So Parkside, that discussion will be coming before a commission yet this year, along with our park and open space plan and moving those projects forward this calendar year. Another potential project is Lawrann Conservancy, some possible land acquisition at some point in time, utilizing impact fees. We haven't talked to our neighbors right there next to our parking lot. We talked to them, but not about buying their house or anything like that. But at some point in time, if they want to retire and downsize and things like that, I think there might be an opportunity for us to talk to them about purchasing their property.
Talking about the one that's inside the park.
That's right next to our parking lot. Now, they're super nice people and things like that. But we would look at impact fees, possibly some money from the Friends Group and like stewardship grant, things like that, do a combination funding sources. So again, these are just potential projects. I just want to get them out there. The Blaine property up in Barton, right now we have zero plans to do anything up there because there's zero need to do anything. But there is a developer that's interested in that, in the other property next to it. If someone's gonna do a multi-million-dollar condo project or something like that, we should probably clean up our side and all that stuff. When I say that, Dan and I haven't talked, and staff, and we haven't really talked about it. I would envision a small green space, some trees, open up some views of the river, maybe even get a path down to the river with a small handicap or ADA compliant deck or something like that. Not a $400,000 playground and all that. We have Barton Park right down the road, all that, but it would be time for us to do something with that property if a developer comes in and wants to do some construction there. All Abilities Playground, Rick's working through updated numbers on that. That is still scheduled for Ridge Run Park or planned for Ridge Run Park. If the commission and the community feels like it'd be a better idea, we can move it to Parkside O. So again, that would be one of those where we build Parkside O. Parkside O would act as a neighborhood park for all those developments on that end, plus the entire community. We'd want to put a play structure in there. Well, if we could, we'd move the All Abilities there. Ridge Run doesn't need the playground per se. Ridge Run location's awesome. We could do it out at Parkside O, things like that, kind of check that off the list. And All Abilities, some impact fees, and lots of donations and grants, I think, for that. So a good project. I mean, All Abilities, we own the plan, we have the plan, we have everything. We just need the funding and the time to go get it done. So the possibility of moving it to Parkside O might be a smart move for all of us. That way we don't have to look at spending another $200,000 at Parkside O on another
Oh,
playground.
just not in addition to, in place of.
In place of.
Okay,
Yep,
gotcha.
Yep, yep.
That would be smart.
Rouse Park, continue the growth out at Rouse Park. In our agenda for this evening, for the quarterly report, I believe we have $59,000 in there for Rouse Park and the fees. We use about $15,000 to $18,000 of that annually, just for operational costs, mowing, snow removal in the park, things like that. Doggy waste bags, we spend literally $10,000 a year in dog waste bags. That's good, they're using them. But Rouse Park, we will look at doing some expansion, some an additional fenced-in area, things like that. Park impact fees also for the Ice Age Trail. Right now, we will look at it as we have two trailheads. One would be Glacier Blue Hills and one would be over on Washington Street. And Rick is already in talks with the DNR about potential stewardship grants for one or both of those projects also to help offset some of those costs. So maybe some impact fees, maybe some capital fees, maybe some DNR stewardship funds again. Carolyn always likes creative, accounting with 14 different accounts and all that, and she does a great job managing it and keeping me in the right direction. So again, these are just some potential projects. Here are some more potential projects that are out there, but these are somewhat more specific, such as the Riverwalk at Quas Creek. Right now on the north end, it dead ends into a farm field. And that farm field, if or when that farm field becomes residential, those impact fees will go literally right to that section of Riverwalk. And there's other Riverwalk sections on here. Same thing with Prairie Meadow Park. To the north of Prairie Meadow Park, at some day, I'm assuming residential will be developed there. We won't need to build another park because we already have Prairie Meadow. Maybe use some impact fees to connect the trail, from that development into the park. Just like Sunset Park, we have the park there, the potential future residential to the north. We just need to make sure we can connect to them. So that way we're not duplicating, hey, let's build another neighborhood park and another playground and another this and that. If we can use some impact fees to connect those parks, those residential areas to our existing parks, I think it's a huge win, so. All right, I'll try and keep going here. So that's just kind of a brief, this is where we're at. This is where we're going. We're in a great spot financially with the amount of residential development that is pending or coming on the books and kind of penciled in on the books. It's a great time to have this discussion, really, and talk about, Parkside O has been a discussion item since, oh my God, the early 90s, really, and things like that. It's not that we, the city, the staff, the commission's been just kicking it down the road. We've done a lot of other things in the last 30 years. You look at Regner and Quas Creek and everything else, so, but it's time, with the residential development down there, and our needs, just in the community, it's time, for Parkside, all things like that.
A lot of houses gonna be going up down.
Yep, yep.
When you're talking about the variation in the impact fees being all over the place, what's like and just off the top of your head, not specifically, but just what's the lower end and the higher end?
There's one that's just a few $100s.
Okay, so like,
It's hard to say, because you're not comparing apples to apples, because we saw the one that had $200, but they were using room tax
They had other
for
stuff
their
they were
development, so,
using,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
and
So
a lot of
that's-
them are funded
I
with
guess my-
capital
my-
budgets.
The real question is it time or what's the discussion?
we're due.
For increasing
Yep.
impact fees?
Yep.
How
yep,
does that
we're due.
process go?
Really, it would be, the commission gives me the nod. I work with our development department, do comparables. We'll look at population comparables, cities of equal size, but Wausau might not be a real good, population-wise, Wausau is a great
Accurate
comparison,
comps.
but.
Yeah.
So we would look at populations, and then we will look at our neighbors. The Hartfords, the Slingers, the Jacksons, Port Washingtons. I can tell you Port Washington is at 3,800 a house, single family. We're at 1900. You know,
We don't
so,
wanna be prohibitive, but we also don't wanna.
right,
Yeah.
yep. So,
Nod?
yeah,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, if you find time to go through and look at the comparables and come up with a recommendation,
Please.
that's what I think would be a
Yeah,
good
right,
idea.
yeah. Not to give you more work, but if you could come up with a recommendation.
well, no,
for, what-
and again, so everyone's got the big spreadsheet in front of them also tonight, so, and that's just basically, this is a worksheet that we use, the plan, we use this in our capital budget to plan, because this is in-house projects, some capital projects, and it's a big list, and it's long, and it's all over the place. But I wanted I wanted to get this in front of the commission for two reasons.
Really?
What?
31?
Yeah.
That's not where it was.
Well, we keep growing. So we wanted to get this in front of the commission. I know what you're
Barton Park,
talking,
I'm
yeah.
complaining about Barton Park. Sorry, go ahead.
You know yeah.
I know, yeah. Ugh.
So two reasons to get this in front of the commission. One is next month, our staff will go through the 2026 projects with commission, which are in here. But I also wanted just to show the commission, there's a need for us for capital money, and that's why the impact fees is even more important. Because you look at the aqua park, you look at the beach house and things like that, we're not getting capital funds to pay for those projects, so we're using impact fees to pay for, we need that revenue source. And if we're not gonna use capital borrowed funds, then we wanna go to the impact fees, and I know it's still indirectly or directly a burden on the taxpayers and things like that, but capital money's going towards our roads and fire trucks and things like that, that's why the impact fees just become that much more important for projects.
Parks are why people move here. Totally makes sense.
Yeah,
So
and
that's,
if, if last year's budgeting cycle was any indication of what the future is gonna look like,
Right.
we'd like to be able to be in control of our own destiny through, through park impact fees and be able to
Yeah.
utilize them where we can.
and we've had conversations with, I'll say new city administrator also about our facility rentals, those revenues go to the city's general fund. How can we get those funds and use them for park facilities, use them for the surrounds around the facilities and things like that, so
Wouldn't that be the case?
that way we don't go get, again, we're gonna go ask for capital money, well, the money's not there, the funding's not there, why borrow the money if we're already generating those revenues, and there's some balance there, so, things we're working on.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody have any questions? You all good? Craig?
Yeah, so I think general consensus is, Mike's gonna take a look at what that number is, but since it hasn't been increased in 20 years, I think it's probably time to recommend an increase in the park impact fees, right? Is that a general consensus of the?
Yes, for sure.
Okay,
Because, and the second item, we'll also bring the tree surety
surety, sure.
fees also at the same time.
Okay.
It'll be two different topics, two different requests, things like that, but if we're gonna tackle this, let's tackle it.
great.
Yeah, might as well.
So, and Rick's done a lot of the legwork already for the tree surety aspect of it. Where we've been, where we're at, what we need to be and things like that, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Good discussion. All right, new business, overnight camp at Lawrann. I think we're just gonna run through all these and just vote at the
Okay.
end. And Courtney's gonna take that?
Yes, annually, Shorewood High School, they have a canoeing trip down the Milwaukee River, and then they finish by camping overnight at Lawrann. So we're requesting overnight camp on Wednesday, June 17th at Lawrann Conservancy.
Yeah, like you said, they've done that for years, and we've always approved it. It's never been a problem.
We voting individually? or-
Yeah, we're gonna wait till she's
Oh,
done.
okay. Well, that
Okay.
is,
Right, sounds good?
that's the only one
Nope.
I,
Well, the,
We each one separately, please.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
all right.
move to approve.
second.
Any discussion for Courtney? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Rainbow Lake Development, Trail Connection.
That's me again. Last week, Wednesday, we discussed with the Lawrann board, there's a new development that's coming next to the current Rainbow Lake condos, and they're asking if they could build their own trail from those future condos onto Lawrann property. And they do already currently have an existing trail from the Rainbow Lake condos that does go onto Lawrann. The board did not vote in favor of the new trail. They felt that they could use the current existing trail, that this poses a risk if we add another trail, that it could cause erosion, then we'll have to maintain an additional trail. But we did explain it ultimately comes to you guys. But that was their feeling at the board meeting, is that they felt they could just use the existing trail that already is right by where the future development's going to be going.
What I thought, when I saw the map, the existing trail is actually by the undeveloped area, and the trail that's there is where it's already built, or where they want to propose it, there's already buildings there, so I didn't understand that part of it. You know what I'm saying?
So the proposed trail is on the west side of the property, and it's actually on the condo side, it's a great location, because there's no existing buildings and no new buildings that are ever gonna be there. So it's kind of a natural area already on the private side, and it basically cut into the Conservancy. The existing trail is great for the Conservancy because it's existing, it's there, and it works, and it flows, and it functions. For the new development, they might plunk a condominium or something, whatever. We haven't seen the layout of the proposed condos up there, but they might put buildings in front of that trail. So for them, the private side, I mean, who wants a trail in their backyard? No one does, trail connection and things like that. So as Courtney said, for the board, it was, we already have a trail connection. It's part of the original developers agreement. They would rather not have that second trail. Yeah.
The original agreement, the trail they have currently, that was part of the original?
Yep.
I wasn't sure of the agreement, because they didn't finish developing it, that there was more trail
It's
coming.
still in the agreement. It's still there.
What was the reason for the developer requesting the new trail?
I think the condos requested it.
Okay.
The current condo association board. Yep,
Requested a new one?
yep. And a second one, sure.
Oh,
And they couldn't just run a sidewalk along their property and tie into that?
This is what they were requesting.
That developer has been to the plan commission, and they're talking about down the hill there, putting more units in.
Yep. And they do, and they, if this development goes through, they'll finish that project, basically is what it comes down to. The board they didn't like the idea of a second trail going into the Conservancy from private property. So I'm walking through the Conservancy, I come to this fence, I have to turn around and go back. Otherwise, I'm gonna step on a private property. If I live in the condos, I get to go out into Lawrann and then come back, you know what I mean? So that was part of it for the board. They were worried about erosion, they were worried about future maintenance and things like that. The developer would construct this trail, a volunteer group out there would be responsible for maintenance.
what about shutting down the existing one and just having the new one the only trail?
They just basically felt the existing trail is good, it works, it's functional, and they would rather not change it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought they would tie into that.
No, it's too far apart. Yeah.
Feelings?
What are your thoughts about it, Courtney?
I think people will get onto the property how they want to.
Anyways, yeah, right.
Hasn't moved maybe a buckthorn plant to get onto a park or something. Who knows if they'll continue to use the current one, but I think until you see the layout of what the future plans are gonna be and can kind of picture where a trail would go, it's kind of hard to picture. And that part of the property in general just does struggle with erosion. So I don't know if it does make sense to establish another trail, because
We table this until we get the full view of the developer's plan?
And we could, Courtney really nailed it, it's like, hey, We don't know what it looks like, that's part of it. But at some point in time, we will request the commission to vote on this, either yay or
Sure,
nay.
sure.
Because it would be, if it's a yay, it would be written into the developer's agreement. You know, and if we get, if we get a plan or a layout, we could also take that back to the or back to the board, the Friends Board, and see if they would want to reconsider or reconsider closing the one trail and opening the second one, or however it might be.
Generally, I'm in favor of more access, because it's a great property. But if, if they do have legitimate concerns, I hate to go against their,
Yeah.
their will.
They were
So I-
pretty adamant about it, the
Yeah.
board was, yep.
And I mean, that board is the watchdog for that property.
Yeah,
They got their best interest in that property to
Sure.
watch out for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they feel bad about erosion and all that,
Yeah, I'd hate to override them.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
we should back them.
Yep,
Yeah, so either table it or vote on it. You said eventually we gotta vote anyway.
we would ask for a vote, because if, again, if it's a yes, they would want that added into the developers agreement. And the developers agreement is months away from happening. So we have plenty of time. I just didn't want to let this float out there. I wanted to get this before the Friends Board, before the commission, not kick the can down the road, type of thing. So again, so if it is tabled, we have some time, some time in there. But at some point in time, a decision will need to be made.
In that window of time, will there be any new information though that's gonna?
At some point in time, we'll see a layout of the buildings,
Yeah,
size
just
of the building,
site
types of the
plan.
buildings, duplex, single family, whatever it might be. Oh yeah, we'll, right to a T. Even final grading plans, landscape plans, all of that for the entire development. We'll get that.
And I'd even like to go look at it. I haven't
Yeah,
really walked it.
yeah. Part of,
It was out there.
it's a toss-up. It could a nice trail be constructed there? Yeah, we could definitely make it happen and make it, very functional, things like that. Again, like Courtney said, if the commission votes against it and we continue using the existing trail, it's not gonna stop anyone from going to the other side and walking onto the property. And to Alan's point, volunteers are maintaining a majority of this. It is. I mean, Dan's staff goes out at times to help out, maybe a larger tree down or something like that, but right now, it's volunteers maintaining these trails.
And again, to Ellen's point too, if I can just mention, I was on a related committee to Lawrann, and somehow the deer abatement program came up, and there was parts of me that was really kind of against that whole program, and I couldn't understand how the Conservancy, because they were one of the drivers of it, I couldn't understand how the Conservancy was into killing deer. It just didn't make any sense to me. But one of the guys sat down with me, and they had a really intelligent, thought-out reason why that was the case, and they definitely have that park's best interest at heart. And so I agree with you, Alan. We should really take their thoughts into account. Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to go against them, and to kick it down the road too, I don't know that they're going to change their mind. So I mean, maybe it's not the worst idea to just deny it, in my opinion.
And if that's the case, if the commission votes tonight not to support this new trail, that's fine. We're still gonna get the plans and things like that, so at some point in time, oh my goodness, a second trail makes a lot, we can bring the topic back up once we get more information, we can do that. We just, again, the developer asked us, we walked it, I didn't wanna wait on this. But if the commission votes tonight to not support this, great. Once we get more information, if it doesn't make sense, I would talk to Mike and Craig to see if the commission would want to revisit the topic, or something of that.
And I would be a little more, well, I know I don't get to vote on it, but I have volunteers that live at the Rainbow Lake condos that's how I find out literally every week what trees are down. She sends me pictures every weekend. I send them to the stewards and they take care of them on Wednesdays. And if they can't, then Dan's guys do. But if they were put a group together like the Rainbow Lake condo stewards and they wanted, if they were gonna take pride in this trail and maintain it and help with that, I don't know if that would change anybody's mind on the board, but maybe not. But if they wanted to take ownership of this trail.
How long,
Information we have at this point, I make a motion, we deny.
Second.
Motion and a second to deny. Any other discussion? All those in favor of denying this request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Denied. And we have a resolution to acknowledge and accept donations. Lawrann Conservancy Friends Board, and Mike's doing that?
Yep, I get to take this one, and it'll be my absolute pleasure. Tonight, we celebrate the Lawrann Friends Board and volunteers for their continued dedication to the Conservancy. The city of West Bend is fortunate to benefit from the continued support of the Lawrann Friends Board. The Friends Board plays a vital role in the ongoing management, enhancement, and long-term growth of the Lawrann Conservancy. In 2025, the Lawrann Friends Board supported and executed the following improvements. Development of the nature playground, $302,000. Tree planting in the pine plantation, $9,200. Painting and exterior wood maintenance of the Marin Center, $22,600. Painting and exterior wood maintenance of the barn, $12,100. Construction of a new maintenance shed, $15,200, and table replacement inside the Marin Center for $7,400 for a grand total of $368,804 of improvements to the Lawrann Conservancy. Just in 2025. This evening, our department is requesting that the commission recognize and accept these donations. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Program fees, Ryan and Courtney.
Yes, good evening. I will start with the recreation programs. Archery, we had a similar discussion for the upcoming spring programs, but looking to increase that slightly, $5 per person regardless of residency to offset the cost of arrows. As a reminder, arrows are expensive, and as they're beginners in archery, they tend to go through quite a few of them over the course of a summer. Summer youth dance and palms, no change. Youth baseball and t-ball, no change. Basketball, no change. Dirty Ninja Mud Run for kids, no change. Junior and Tiny Tot gymnastics, no change. Soccer, no change. Youth softball league, no change. Sporties for shorties, that goes as young as 2 years old to, I believe, 5 years old is the oldest participants we have in that. I am proposing to match sort of the the archery fee if you take away the $5. It takes the right instructor to teach sporties for shorties. Some teenagers just aren't comfortable with 2-year-olds and can't keep them engaged and interacted. So I'm looking to increase the fee for that reason. Swimming lessons, no change. Tennis league, no change. Tennis lessons, no change. Youth recreational dance, so this will be a recreational program during the daytime, so they won't have the recital. New offering at $33 or $43 for 3 or 4 weeks for a resident, and non-residents would be at $48 or $63 depending on the length of the session. Playground play, another new offering. I'll kind of touch on the rationale for all of this during my rec supervisor report later, but the fees for that new offering are shown there. Youth volleyball, no change. End of summer dance camp, no change. End of summer tennis camp, no change. And youth theater, we are proposing to increase the t-shirt fee from 14 to 21 to make a break-even cost on that. Last year, we ended up losing $6 to $7 per t-shirt just because of the number of colors on it and whatnot. And we supply t-shirts for the instructors, and there's 6 or 7 of them, including volunteers. Camp Regner, another new offering, $150 for residents, $225 for non-residents. So looking to kind of mimic what Courtney does and utilize the Camp Lodge. I've heard that it's undergoing a pretty extensive remodeling in the near future, so going to be using that as kind of the hub for that and doing some day camps around Regner, meeting with Faith, who will be the head instructor for that if it gets passed tomorrow to start game planning. And then women's health and fitness, no change there. Moving on to contracted programs with the youth and adult golf at the Bog, I do have a late change to notate. I was emailed by the Bog yesterday afternoon. They are bumping their price from $135 to $140. They have to pay the bills, so that price increase is due to the Bog, and we will now get $28 instead of the $23. The rest of the, Youth Chess Camp, no change. Stingers Youth Golf Academy, no change. Youth and Adult Yoga, no change. Youth STEM Camps, this is something that is going to be a new program that we are looking to hold for 1 week in the Library Recreation Center in the lobby down there. I received a flyer for this and kind of communicating with the gentleman that runs it. It sounds like they've been very successful. At this point, it's sort of a placeholder. We still will need to find an instructor and then do the background and check on that instructor and whatnot to make sure that the person that the STEM camp is providing us is appropriate to be working with kids, but
Can you remind me what the STEM camp is?
science, technology,
Engineering.
engineering and math, yeah. So a different offering, thank you for saving me there. But some of the programs that are cool, are very cool. So like one's like mini robots, and it's, you build your own robot from a kit that they supply. So a different offering. We have the Library Recreation Center sitting vacant for the majority of the morning. So I figured give it a shot. If it works out, great, which I'm hopeful that it will. And then fun runs with West Bend East Track High School. I was approached last fall by the coach. He is from Neenah originally. It was a successful program that he remembers fondly doing as a kid up there. Wanted to kind of take those core memories, bring them to West Bend.
Great.
A little bit of a fundraiser, and Sunday evenings in Regner Park on 2 weekends that we don't have larger events going on. So it should be a good time, I would hope. Moving on to Regner Beach, I will just summarize the daily passes, in saying that there are no changes except for the proposed Monday through Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m. Aqua Park ticket. That would have been $8 last year. It was a starting fee of $8 across the board. Proposing that we take that and drop it down to $6. If you kind of looked at the statistics from last year, the 5 to 7 Monday through Thursday was by far our slowest selling session, so kind of hoping to lower the price point to get more bodies there to make more revenue that way. Obviously, staff and just the appearance of it, it makes more sense to try and get more people into the Aqua Park and Regner Park than have it sit vacant.
It's worth a try.
Yep. In-season pass sales, no changes, and pre-season pass sales, no changes. So that is what I have for Rec and Aquatics.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that you don't have to do a change to the, we're going to increase, hopefully we're going to increase things on the Aqua Park, but yet we're going to hold the price down.
Yep.
Which is good.
Yep.
Maybe next year we have to look at that again.
And
Yes.
usership's gonna go up every year probably for a while yet anyways, I would imagine.
I sure hope so. I hope that the floor has been set and the ceiling's still a couple of years
I
out.
suspect so, yeah.
Move to approve the fees as submitted with the exception of the youth golf change that was, that Ryan indicated.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Courtney?
Courtney, yeah, we got to have Courtney's.
Yes. Adventure Camp, there's no change to fees. Birding in West Bend, the adult birding program, no change. Junior Naturalist Camp, no change. Little Hikers, no change. And adding raising monarch butterflies with resident $25, non-resident $37.50.
Any discussion for Courtney?
Are you gonna be literally raising monarch butterflies? Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I do that with camps every year too, so that's, yep, we find eggs or caterpillars, and then you learn about the whole life cycle and how they migrate. They'll be back here in May, and
That's awesome.
eggs in June.
Is it my imagination or are there more monarchs around? I've been planting milkweed and stuff in Barton Garden and in my own, not planting, but letting milkweed grow. And it does seem like they're around more.
Last year was the best year I've had in 6 years. Yeah.
That's
Even
awesome.
my little house where I barely have land, I have my whole front is like milkweed, and I raised like over 20 monarchs myself at my house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good
Are
program.
you ever gonna try bees again?
Yes, Mike and I just talked about that, and I was like, oh, we put that in the certain location, not knowing that we were gonna build a playground right next to 5,000 bees coming in and out. And I was like, I wanna do bees, but we were talking about doing a program just and having boxes out in the prairie where it could be family friendly and it could be weekly, not just a one-time class where I have the full suits. I could teach them beekeeping and, but it would have to be in a place where, only we know about it, and animals, I mean, skunks and all sorts of animals will get into boxes when I helped at Mequon, so, but yeah, I definitely want to do it again, but I don't think we will be able to use our current setup. If a child's allergic to bees at the playground and, just isn't in the right place anymore.
So I move to approve the fees as submitted.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Courtney and Ryan. Now we have special events. No fee required. Mike, you're gonna do that?
Yep, I will take these. For any of our special events, it doesn't matter if we're charging fees or not. The standard operating procedures are insurance, permits through the clerk's office, things like that. If there's gonna be alcohol served, obviously that goes through the clerk's office. Every one of these events are evaluated by all the different city departments. Police, fire, comes across my desk, even development, everyone else, so, I'm not gonna mention that for each one of these events, that is just standard operating procedure, so. The first item would be for no fee, we have 7 events to bring forward this evening. The first is the Easter egg hunt. Our department teams up with the Lions Club for that, scheduled for March 28th in Regner Park. The next event would be the Kids Fishing Clinic. Again, the Kiwanis Early Risers, they take the lead on this super successful event. Our department works with them on this. Again, it'll be in Regner Park, April 18th, utilizing the entertainment area, the Kiwanis Early Risers Shelter, and the family fishing pond. The spring cleanup with Roots and Branches, again, will be in Regner Park, April 25th. This event focuses on spring cleanup in our park system with a giant group of volunteers. The Baird Shred event is scheduled for May 7th, just to be held in the Kister Island parking lot. They're not renting any facilities or anything like that. Again, same event as they've done in the past. Good Shepherd softball tournament is scheduled for May 8th, using May 9th as a rain day. There are no fees associated with this because of our memorandum of understanding that we have with the West Bend Athletic Association, giving them four tournaments on an annual basis. 4 tournaments at no fee. Again, that organization, volunteers, they run all the adult programs and things like that. Those are things our department doesn't have to worry about. They also help fundraise for certain projects at times. The next event, no fee event, would be the Lawrann Conservancy Wildflower Sale, May 9th. Please come out to the Conservancy for that. Those revenues help support that long list of items we read off earlier. Al's Hideout, they're doing your annual car show again. All the alcohol, food sales and all that is on the north side of the road on private property. They are just using the parking lot in Regner Park for a couple hours, and that is scheduled for May 9th, same as what they've done in the past. So that is what we have this evening for no fee events for 7 events.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to give a shout out to the Rotary. They keep the sides on the pavilions down there so that the Easter egg hunt people and the fishing clinic people can use them. That's real nice. That's good cooperation.
Yep, very helpful.
Yeah. Okay, motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Mike. And then we have the other special events, and you're going to do that?
Yes, so again, the next 2 events are both fee-related events. Again, these are organizations within our community hosting their own event. We provide them with the facilities, things like that, general property prep, and they execute these events on their own. The first one is the Steps Against Sexual Assault, scheduled for April 25th in Ridge Run Park. In 2025, they hosted their first walk in the park, and they absolutely loved it, and they would like to do it again. The fees associated with that are down below on this sheet for a total amount of $260. The second fee event for this evening would be the 2026 Farmers Market. Again, downtown, utilizing Old Settlers Park, May 16th through the 31st. The market will not be held on July 4th. It was a discussion item back and forth, literally. Some of the market vendors wanted to have it on the 4th. We can move the parade over to Veterans Avenue, it just makes a lot of challenges for PD and fire and access and et cetera. So May 16th through the 31st, not including July 4th. The associated fees are down below. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? The garbage cleanup down at the downtown, we do that on Monday?
Our sanitation department does that Monday mornings.
Okay.
Normally Monday and Friday mornings, yep,
I know there's been times where it's still on Sunday or whatever, it's,
yeah.
because there's so much mess. I know the downtown people are supposed to pick up, but they don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
sometimes it's just not
garbage
enough.
cans are full, sometimes there's garbage stacked up next to them, things like that. Part of it is, the farmer's market ends on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m.-ish. To get someone in there at that point in time, I mean, downtown's full.
Right.
And then if we were to be on a Sunday morning, then it's all on overtime and things like that, so. Can it get a little unsightly at times? It can, but just balancing that checkbook.
Sure. Okay, any other discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Mike. And then Ryan's going to talk about resolution authorizing a transfer of rec fund balance.
The Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids is preparing for the 12th year of this event, and we need to replace one of the original water slides that was purchased in 2016 that popped 5 minutes before the beach closed during the last Super Slides Day of last year. So the silver lining is, I guess, it didn't happen during the mud run. Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department staff is seeking approval to transfer $4,695 from the Recreation Fund balance to an expense account for the Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids for the purchase of the new inflatable slide. As the 2025 books closed, there was $107,741.99 in the Recreation Fund balance account. When the 2025 deposit is inputted, we are looking at adding an additional $155,000. So we do this so that the expenses for the mud run are consistent on an annual basis, so that when we go back 5 years from now and say, wow, why did we spend $5,000 more in 2025 than 2026 and 2025, we know why, so.
And this will be able to be used for Super Slide Day too?
We are not planning on doing any Super Slide Days this year with the Aqua Park.
Yeah.
It just wasn't utilized. I think the second one, I think we sold less than 20 tickets. So by the time you factor in the overtime for stand staff,
sure.
it's
And it'll last longer too.
certainly.
Move to approve the transfer.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And one more, Ryan?
In preparation for the 2025 Regner Beach season, staff recommends adding 3 new obstacles to the current Aqua Park configuration to capitalize on the success of 2025. Parks, Recreation, and Forestry staff is seeking approval to transfer $14,159.37 from the Recreation Fund balance to an expense account for Aqua Park for the purchase of 3 new AquaGlide obstacles along with life jackets in various sizes that will help during change of session on busy days. Again, $107,000 sitting in the rec fund balance, and we will be depositing in the ballpark of $155,000. The breakdown of that $14,000. Roughly 8,000 of that is the cost for the new obstacles, and the remainder is some additional straps and the life jackets. So for that 8,000, we would need to sell about 40%, excuse me, let me backtrack. With these 3 new obstacles, our maximum capacity would go from 140 users at once to 150. So with those 10 additional spots gained, we would need to sell about 40% of those to break even on these 3 new obstacles. So anything beyond that this year and into the future would be profit.
How often did you hit max?
Towards the end of the season, it was trending more often than not, to be completely honest with you. After the August flooding, I think for 4 days straight, it was 3 out of 4 were selling, and it was with the exception of the 5 to 7 p.m.
So you're adding on to it?
It'll be 3 standalone ones. One's kind of a rocker.
Oh, okay.
And then there's one that's kind of like a elevated balance beam, I'll call it, and then a blast bag. So you jump off of the 5 or 6 foot high trapezoid onto the blast bag and launch someone.
Oh, sweet.
The users requested to try and listen.
I've heard that Mike Weston's gonna be the first one off the blast bag.
Awesome. I was on that thing last year. This is gonna be fun.
Blast, yeah.
That's great.
Touch on interest rates.
Side note, with the rec fund balance, it is set up so that it is gaining interest. So in 2025, we did earn roughly $7,000 in interest on the fund balance. So I'll say after we take away this $20,000 for the purchases we're looking to make, we will have, oh gosh, what would that be? $240,000. We'll be getting some pretty solid interest on that in 2026 as long as rates stay where they're at. So it's definitely some good news.
Move to approve the transfer.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second by Sarah. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Ryan. That's it for reports. Oh, now we start the chairman report. I just want to say the ice skating rink is open. Good job. You guys are very busy, but you managed to get the rink open. I was down there yesterday and there was 5 kids out there all bundled up skating, playing hockey. So I'm sure there'll be people down there this weekend. It's going to warm up a little bit and the warming shelter will be open. So good job. I'm glad we have it open. That's all I have. You have anything?
No, I just want to thank the commission for, the active discussion on park impact fees and things like that. It's very engaging.
Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, we got the quarterly trust report to look at.
Some of these items we had mentioned from earlier, like park acquisition at $495,000. Dog park right now at $59,000. That's an outstanding balance. One side note with the first column is the PRAC fund. That is basically set up for future park capital projects. One potential project we might bring before the commission midsummer might be 2 additional shade structures, umbrellas in the beach in Regner Park. We met this week, staff did, we talked about it again. Timing, and Dan's staff they have some spring projects and things like that, that we would maybe come before the commission, maybe use some PARC funds and some rec funds and purchase, looking at 2 additional umbrellas, and it'd probably be like on the east side of the pond. The good news is, last year we started renting those for the first time with the aqua park and all that. We generated about $2,000 in revenue. Not a ton of money, but you know what? $2,000 is definitely better than 0, and it helps to pay off some of these investments, things like that. So the PARC fund, we might be asking the commission yet this year to utilize some of those funds. It might be a midsummer purchase, and Dan's guys might install them after the season, but then we would be ready for 2027 at least. That way, spring is just hard. Spring's a challenge, and we got to build frame boxes and all that for, pouring the footings for these and all that. It just takes a little time. So time-wise, monetarily, spending some money-wise, and all that, we might bring it back to the commission this summer for a fall project and basically 2027 implementation. So, but the good news is Carolyn and Tanya are renting shade structures and people love them. They like them. gives them their spot, so.
You just have to move as the sun moves, I see.
You do, yeah. So that's what I have on the quarterly report. I didn't know, any questions or?
Anybody have any questions? Thanks. Courtney, you have anything else to share?
Checking out snowshoes tomorrow, so it's gonna be cold, but I hope people will come. Just some of the things we already talked about, 9 weeks of camp this summer, adding back in that Monarch class. We're already prepping for plant sale stuff. Plants are ordered, greenhouses go up on March 31st. We have an Arbor Day event coming up in April, our annual plant sale, a couple Ozaki Washington Birding Coalition presentations in the Marin Center. And at our latest board meeting, the board voted in favor to add security cameras at the nature playground. So that will be on top of the open air shelter, the Mike Starrell open air shelter. So that will have 4 camera heads on it, and we'll have full view of the playground. And I think it's a good decision because we had a lot of very generous donors, and I'd hate to see anything vandalized that we've.
Shame, but it's something that you have to do.
So it's vandalism is the reason for it?
Well, I mean, we have not had any we haven't had anybody like spray painting, but like a lot of things broken in the beginning that we quickly learned, like you have to have like Hulk-proof things for children to like slam stuff with. So we quickly learned what we would not be replacing and things that could withstand children.
Sure.
Symbols are still there, you know, but like other things were broken within a couple days and we knew that wasn't gonna work. But overall, like none of the main big attraction things, there hasn't been any damage to those. But we've had kids on top of buildings, on top of the shed, you know, and it's just, I think, good to have your eye if a kid decides to climb up on the town buildings where it's a drop off, you know, and, you know, just be able to know what's going on.
Maybe protects the park a little bit too, yeah.
Just having the cameras there and they see them might,
Yeah, that can be prohibitive,
They
yeah.
have cameras over at such a high-use area. And the one will cover the south end of the building, the Marin Center, so we'll be able to see the doors and things like that.
have them all over Regner and the Riverwalk, and cut down on any of this vandalism.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Ryan, you got anything else?
Swimming lessons, gymnastics, and dance have all started. Fairly decent enrollment in swimming lessons. It always kind of trends that the first session is lower, and then they roll over into the second session, and then it's a little bit warmer. And then gymnastics on Wednesdays and Saturdays, strong enrollment there. So glad that we decided last year to add additional opportunities for gymnastics. Skate park, Grindline provided us with the conceptual design 1 and the cost estimates for all 3 phases. Overall, the feedback was mostly positive. There's some negative comments on Facebook, which always going to be, but among those, the kind of one common denominator, and our Friends of West Bend Skate Park Board sort of agrees with it, is that there was a lack of some of the taller elements, mostly for bikes and the more advanced skaters, BMXers, bladers, whatever it may be. So we had a board meeting last night with the Friends of West Bend Skate Park, and 3 of the board members are going to kind of sit down, review conceptual design 1, mainly the heights of some of the elements, provide me with the feedback. I'll pass that on to Grindline so that we can get some revisions when we get the second renderings of the skate park. We, as Mike said earlier, in February we have our project review, so I'm hoping to do a more thorough review of everything with pictures and cost estimates and the whole 9 yards, but the work continues with the skate park project. Regner Beach and the Aqua Park, I am almost fully staffed with beach house attendants with no advertising of the job other than word of mouth. So that's pretty exciting. It got to the point where I had HR take down the job posting for beach house attendant, so good news there. In February, we'll do the advertising for lifeguards. 8 to 10 should be my quota, so I'm not too worried about that, feeling pretty good. And then it's on to staffing for rec sports. We were fortunate to inherit a multi-$1,000 soft serve ice cream machine from a Jewish community center in Mequon that was closing, an outdoor pool operation there. We had the electric work done for that by Gillitzer Electric a couple of weeks ago. Bought a cart for the ice cream machine, and I'm excited to use that. The profit and the revenues there could, sky's the limit, I'll say that.
We can have a day when we test it out.
Yeah, I'll send out the calendar invite.
Not beer.
Mud Run Prep, we've got the color for this year selected. Carolyn is working hard with her vendors for ordering the headbands and the wristbands for all of the participants. Dan and the crew are making some alterations to a couple of the obstacles and then constructing one new one, so the course will change, which is exciting. And then I personally will be reaching out to our sponsors early in February. Proud to announce that Darrow and Bank 5-9 are back on board as presenting sponsors. They're already locked in. So now looking at the $2,500 and $1,250 donation levels, sponsorship levels, excuse me. LRC1 dance floor studio is done. As a reminder, before we had a plastic kind of synthetic wood floor. We made the decision after the flooding to go ahead and install a true wood dance floor. When we found Chuck Schrader with classical hardwood floors, we knew that he probably wouldn't be completing the work until December. We knew that the wood floor was the right path to go. Finally wrapped that up in January. I think it was the 19th. So exciting news there. They being the dancers are all very excited with that. Ice rinks open, as we mentioned, and summer prep. So as I mentioned earlier, a couple of new programs. So due to Kilbourne Avenue being under construction this summer, we are going to be taking our recreation programs that are held at Riverside, transplanting them to Regner Park. Everything is going to be in the Cuss Field, the B Diamond baseball field, and outfield tennis courts, and then kind of that expanded field beyond to the sport court area. Along with that, we have gotten approval to use the 16-passenger van to potentially shuttle kids from location to location, whether it's the archery range or to the new the new dance program that'll be going on in the LRC during this time. The ultimate goal with this is to give different offerings for different age groups at different times. So if you were signing your kid up, we are going to try to have 2 to 3 options from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. to sign up for 3 different sports on either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday. So the goal is to get them into Regner and keep them at Regner unless they're jumping in the van, which will be driven by Sam, my summer program supervisor, taking them from spot to spot throughout the community. So hoping that a parent can drop their child off in Regner, know that they're in good hands for the next 3 hours, come pick them up at noon, help enrollment, and obviously we want people enrolling in our programs. The one thing that I will say is it's not guaranteed child watch, so if there's a rain day, just like any other recreation program in the past, we would cancel all of the outdoor ones. So, exciting stuff there.
We might have to move the fireworks too, huh?
That's a question for the director.
No. Anything else?
No.
That's what I've got, thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody have any questions for Ryan? Thanks. And Dan, you got anything?
Just a couple quick things here. Staff has been out. We're finishing up pruning in District 5, which is just south of Riverside Park. We've been a little slow this fall or this winter because we've been getting a lot more snow. So there's like last week, I think we went out once, and the temperature is not really helping out much either. So once we're done with that, we'll be heading over to District 1, which is just west of Regner and all the way over to the highway. So
It's an important district.
like about 2 or 3 other people mentioned, the ice rink is open. Before we got the severe cold snap, we had 9 inches. So since we've been keeping it cleared off, it's probably well over a foot. A lot better than when I went through it in late December. So, mowing contract is up, so we've been working on getting that ready to send back out. Hopefully by either tomorrow or early next week, that'll be getting sent out for bids for the 25 properties that we have done through contract. So hopefully we can get a good price on that. Ryan touched on it. We did build 2 new obstacles for the mud run today. They're done. They look kind of like a split rail fence, but they're like 4 rails high. They're gonna be replacing the old metal bike racks, because it just kind of was like, let's just kind of get these things out of here. We also did modifications to the balance beams. We've had some issues with balance and kids falling and little kids being a little nervous with them, so we actually put carriage bolts through them with 2x10s and applied rhino liner to the 2x10s for traction. So that'll be a lot safer for kids. Like I said, we've been doing snow removal. That's been a big thing for us this winter, more than norm, it seems. A couple weeks ago on Friday, we worked with Downtown Business Association at about 6 o'clock in the morning, met downtown. We placed all the ice sculptures again. So the day prior, we put out all the stands that we built in-house and leveled them so that we could have that event downtown. And the last and probably best news for me is on Tuesday, I offered our job, our open 9th position to an individual. He accepted. He will be starting on February 23rd. He is bringing with him 12-plus years of forestry experience, pesticides, CDL, and just really seemed like he's gonna fit in real well, so.
Where's he from?
He lives over just north of, on Robin. So it worked out real well too.
Local guy.
Yeah, so he was driving every day from there down to Merton. He's working for a Wachtell private tree company. So he was looking for a little bit of relief on that, so.
Good.
I'll add, the pruners did a wonderful job. They did 4 trees in my yard.
They did.
They were great. Cutting in the morning, cleaning up in the afternoon. They did a great job.
And I was happy that they told me that they talked with you. They
Oh.
said, oh, there's this
I did say hi.
shorter woman with glasses that came out, and I'm like, oh, I hope you
Sweet
behaved
woman.
yourself.
With the purple-
So,
I did
no, I'm,
talk to them, yes.
Yeah.
They-
no, I'm glad to hear that, so.
Yeah, I guess a shorter woman with glasses.
Anything else? Any questions for Dan? Thank you. And then, last but not least, Mike.
A couple quick items. First item, I'd like to pass along a big thank you to our staff. Carolyn and Tanya in the office, the beginning of the year is always busy with facility rentals and things like that. They could write and do seminars on customer service. They are just absolutely phenomenal trying to accommodate needs and wants of our customers for birthday parties and gatherings and things like that. They could be like, yeah, I really don't care about your birthday party. What do you want to rent? It's very impressive to watch. At the same time, they're restructuring, get everything ready for the Aqua Park ticket sales for this year, because we want to get that done early this year, because hopefully, everyone knows what it is now. We can get that going early. Kudos to Ryan. He could easily sit on his hands and say, hey, Kilbourne's under construction this summer. Let's cancel programs, or let the parents fight through the gravel and this and that. Nope, restructure everything. I give him a lot of credit, restructure everything, doing his, I keep calling it a round robin in Regner Park with these participants, the van, we're gonna get these people out to the archery range and over to the library, rec center and things like that. Courtney, the things she hasn't mentioned tonight are field trips and the plant sale prep and nature in the classroom. There's a lot of things that aren't on her list that was before commission tonight that she's doing. Dan and staff, Dan didn't mention, their staff is also gonna be building bars and tables for the barn out at the Marin Center. The Marin Center's our wedding venue. It's time for some upgrades, things like that. People think, oh, park and forestry, what do you do all winter? Well, if they can't prune 3,000 street trees because the wind chill is -40, they're building mud run obstacles and flooding skating rinks and preparing for community events and things like that downtown. So our staff it can be wind chills of 40 degrees, they're gonna keep producing and executing. So kudos all the way from office staff, rec, the Conservancy, and down at the shop. Mentioned earlier tonight, Riverside Park fireworks, Kilbourne being under construction. In the contract specifications, there are a tremendous amount of notes that are gonna be in the contract already. We talked to Kunkel on engineering, wanting them to be aware of July 4th fireworks. We are still renting Riverside Pavilion. We're not gonna close it. We still want people to use the park, things like that. So, we have basically clauses written into the contract. Nothing real hard for the contractor. It says, hey, just give us one of the driveways into the parking lot for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of times the contractors aren't working Fridays, things like that. So I don't think it's gonna be that painful. Again, Carol and Tanya have done an outstanding job. You can see it on our windows, you can see it on our website. If you wanna rent Riverside Pavilion, like 19 different warnings are gonna come out at you that says, Kilbourne Avenue is under construction. We don't want surprises. We don't want someone going there on Saturday morning or a Sunday morning going, I didn't know I was driving into a war zone here, and so, things like that. So again, looking out for our customers, for their needs, so they understand that, hey, this road's under construction. July 4th will be a big one. We had a lot of challenges last year just with the Indiana intersection under construction. We don't want to close Kilbourne for July 4th to all traffic. It makes it harder for the residents, it makes it harder for police and fire and us and everyone. So depending on the contractor, we'll make things happen and all that good stuff. So Riverside Park will be open all of next year, including the fireworks. And no, we're not putting the fireworks back in Regner Park,
Well, now 'cause of
especially
the
now that
aqua
we
park, we
park,
can't.
several $100,000 in inflatables in the middle of the park, so. My last item, I just wanted to mention, Discover Wisconsin. I'm guessing everyone in here has heard of it. It's a show about, they highlight different communities throughout the state and different organizations and whatnot. We, the city of West Bend, and some of our tourism partners will be putting together a Discover Wisconsin episode this year, which is pretty cool. It's a $52,000 cost. They don't do things for free and all that stuff. Again, we're using some tourism dollars. The chamber's involved, MOA, the Bend, and all that. So I think it's going to be pretty awesome to be able to highlight West Bend. I would have to guess that many of the things that we do will also be on that. So the highlight Regner Park and Aqua Park in our downtown and Riverwalk and all that cool stuff. I think it'll definitely be part of it. So kind of cool. I'm excited about it. I love selling West Bend. I think West Bend's a really cool community. I think we have a mountain of really awesome things going on with facilities, but even events and programs. And to highlight that on a statewide level and almost a Midwest level, yeah, I think it's awesome. So that'll be this year. At some point in time when the entire package is together, we're planning on doing an unveiling event down at the Bend again and things like that, really turn it into a celebration at some point in time. So just kind of wanted to mention that. So again, it's kind of the tourism hat I wear at times, but trying to reach out beyond our borders and even beyond Washington County and highlight what we're doing, because what we're doing, I think, is pretty awesome. So, thank you.
Agreed.
Well, thanks for everything you do too, Mike, that you didn't mention. Anything else? If not, I will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I take this with me?
Yeah.